right before we knelt in silence, the narrator of the Passion said, Jesus cried out in a loud voice and gave up his spirit. To give up your spirit means to die, right? To give up your last breath. Actually, in Greek language, the word used in this passage is a breath or air. In English, we also say to give up your last breath, which means to take your ultimate breath and pass away, to die. But for a good reason, when the translators did their job translating Bible from Greek into English, in that version they translated breath as spirit. The reason being because the same word in Greek is used for both. The word is pneuma, P-N-E-U-M-A. In English we say pneumatic, things that operate with air, right? In Greek, the word pneuma can be applied to air or breath or to spirit. And actually, the Acts of the Apostles and then St. Paul will use that word almost exclusively to refer to the Holy Spirit. Whenever Greek is using the word pneuma, the breath, the writers of the New Testament almost exclusively mean the Spirit of God. And so the fathers of the church in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th century would look at this text from St. Matthew as Jesus is dying on the cross and giving up his last breath, giving up the Spirit. And they will say, this is the moment when the Spirit of God has been given to the apostles, which is strange, because most of the time we think of the Pentecost as the time when the Spirit is delivered to the church, 50 days after the resurrection. But this text in St. Matthew presents us with a different insight. The Spirit initially is given when Jesus gives up his last breath. When Jesus passes away, that's when the Spirit of God is released on the earth. Not on the happy, joyful feast of the Pentecost, but on this most dark moment in the history of the humankind. Not when they were celebrating and speaking tongues, but when they were crying and mourning. Jesus gave up his Spirit, the Holy Spirit, on the darkest day of humankind. There would be no Pentecost, there would be no Easter without Good Friday. Good Friday was necessary for us to receive the Spirit of God, the breath of the Holy One. Without Good Friday, there will be no Easter, no Pentecost, there will be no Christianity. This year we had the craziest winter ever. The longest, the coldest, the snowiest, the iciest. It was just overwhelming. Our caretakers were working really hard, removing the snow and the ice from the church every single Sunday. And I know that you were tired of snow after 5 months. For some reason, this was the first time in my life when St. Louis winter was colder than Polish winter back in Poland. Something is not right. You have done something wrong. Go to confession. Seriously. But winter moved away, and the last few days everybody was jogging, walking, smelling the flowers, playing in the garden. And the spring season gives us so much joy today. The spring puts a smile on our face. But there would be no spring without winter before. We would have no flowers, no trees, no green grass if there was no winter, ice and snow. We would have no amazing joy if winter or if summer lasted all year long. Or think of different Good Fridays in your life. Perhaps when you were going through a divorce and you thought to yourself, this is the darkest moment of my life. Why is he, why is she making me go through all of this? And that Good Friday of your divorce was not a happy moment. But perhaps without you getting divorced, you wouldn't have never met your next spouse who makes you really happy, who made you fall in love once again and believe in love once again. So even though the Good Friday of you having your heart broken was painful, it brought fruit of a new, better, healthier relationship. Am I right? Think about the time when you were fired from your old work, when you were let go, and you thought to yourself, why did I even bother investing in that job? Why did I try my best? Why did I involve myself with my whole heart in that particular job? And now they are letting me go. And it was a Good Friday. There was nothing happy about that time when you lost your job. But perhaps a few months or a few years later, you found that job that makes you really happy, that gives you passion, that makes you wake up every morning and say, I get to go to work. Perhaps you needed that Good Friday of being unemployed to discover Easter morning and finding your passion, of finding a job that makes you really happy and excited about it. Perhaps you would have never started your own business if you were not fired or unemployed. I think of my Good Friday 8.5 years ago when I pick up a phone and a reporter on the other end asked me, Father, how do you feel about your excommunication? About what? Your excommunication was issued this morning. Oh, really? There was nothing happy about it. It was a Good Friday of my priesthood, my life. But now, as I look at that time, I think, thank goodness for Good Friday. Without me being excommunicated, without you being kicked out of the church, we would not have become who we are today. We would not be able to do what we are doing today. And we are a happy bunch of strange Catholics. But this church, this journey, excites me, gives me passion and joy every single day. And I would not have had this experience if I was not excommunicated. There would be no Pentecost of St. Stanislaus without Good Friday, of us being suppressed and excommunicated. And you can think of many, many such examples of Good Fridays in your life. And when you are going through them, they are not happy, they are not pretty, they are painful, but they are needed and necessary for the Spirit of God to come and transform your life, to raise you up from the tombs of your old jobs, relationships, of the past experiences, and lead you to a new life, to something better, to something holier, to something healthier. The Spirit of God is given to us at the time when we are going to the darkest moment of our life. The Spirit of God nurtures us, gives us courage. The Spirit of God guides us, not only when we are happy and celebrating Pentecost, but when we are going through our own Good Fridays. Jesus cried out with a loud voice and gave up his Spirit. Jesus gives up his Spirit. Jesus gives up the Spirit to you and to me every time you find yourself on the cross. Every time you are going through your own Good Friday, the Spirit of God is with you.